the electrical charge of an object, we have a total grounding solid piece. Also, in terms of us, removing the excess of emotional charge that is the result of getting lost in the non-physical dimension
Right.
of thoughts, it's also called a grounding. So that's the topic that we are going to be talking about. What can you tell us about that, Greg, in this brief description?
So yeah, so I mean, it's an interesting. So again, it's very, very interesting that um, that when we're talking about being focused on our inner world, which will then also help us to be more focused on our outer world. It's about being present in the present moment. So always being aware of where we are at any given time. And that's really about grounding, because when we don't feel grounded, we aren't focused in the moment. We're not focused in the present. We're thinking of the past. We're thinking of the future. We're thinking of, different things that we need to be doing or should be doing or would like to have or need to have, rather than being aware and present of where we are in the given moment. So an example of that would be, let's say, for example, attending a meeting, right? So you might be listening in on a meeting or on a topic, and you're not really following along with what's being said because one is thinking of something else.
Right.
So and then what will say, well, you're not grounded. You have to be present. Come back to the here and now with what's being discussed now, and focus on whatever it is that you're thinking of now later.
Exactly.
Right. So that's one example. Another example could be, for example, driving. If somebody's driving down the highway and they're not they're thinking of different things, well, then they're not realizing, oh, there's a car in front of me.
Exactly.
Let's stop. Right. Or the phone rings, or their phone falls. They go to reach for their phone. They're not focusing on where they are right now on the road, and they get into an accident. Or even if they don't get into an accident, focusing your concentration somewhere else and where it needs to be at the present time.
Right. Yeah,
Right. So
that's a great example, practically.
yeah, thank you. So I mean, and so when we're talking about chakras, so we usually talk about the root chakra first, because that's the grounding tool. That's all about being in the here and now, which then allows us to focus on the other, the other 6 chakras after, because there's 7 main chakras in total that we focus and we talk about. I mean, the body has, hundreds or thousands of other chakras, like little tiny ones that all over the body, but we focus on the 7 main ones because they're the ones that are the main centers, that and each one has its own purpose and its own focus.
Perfect.
So so the root chakra, it's important to talk about where that is. So that's located at the base of the spine. It actually takes up the first 3 vertebrae. And if one wants to, and what that so that deals with some different issues. So for example, it's our foundation, so it has to do with survival, including financial, so money, food, our well-being, our pleasure, right? So our sense of abundance. And most people walk around, honestly, I would say most people, and I can say this freely, walk around with an imbalanced first chakra or root chakra, because we're always thinking about what it is that we don't have, what it is that we would like to have, what is that, what is it that we feel there's always something missing, from our life. It's just, very few people walk around thinking, oh, I have everything I need. I have the money that I need. I have the house or the apartment or the room that I need to live in. I have my family that I need. I'm happy with the food that I have, that I'm able to afford. Very few people are truly content, if I could say that, with that. Very few. Most of us, we walk around, thinking, oh, I wish I had more money. I wish I had more good food to eat that I can't eat. I wish I could go and eat at that restaurant or those restaurants. Um, I wish that I could afford to buy these clothes that I see other people wear that I wish that I had.
Right.
Um, I want the latest phone, the latest cell phone. I don't have that. So this all stems from the root chakra. And when we're out of balance, these are the different things that come up for us. This is how it plays out, right? And so it's important to keep that in balance and keep it in check by replacing the wording of I wish I had this, wish I had with to I do have. I do have food. I have the food that I need. Um, I have the money that I need. Hold on, I think Milo's stuck. I'll be right back. Hold on.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
He's free now. He's happy. His root chakra is now balanced. Okay, so so uh,
What I understand so far is the fact
yeah,
that people are not using their focus or their
right,
power of thought properly. And
yeah,
obviously, if they were able to achieve money, it's because all the people who are able to achieve money are because they are focused on one specific thing at a time. And to achieve something, you have to focus, you have to bring your thoughts to one specific process. For example, if you are a gardener and you want flowers in your garden, and you want a beautiful garden, you have to take care. There is a process for that. And then after a while, you will have a beautiful garden. If you take care of it, you plant the seeds, you plant the plants, and then you get flowers. Same thing with money.
that's true. Yes, that's true.
Same
But
thing.
also, it's important to, even if one feels that they don't have what is it they want, it's still important to refocus on believing that you have what it is that you need.
I
Because the
understand.
universe, the way the universe provides is that it provides in such a way that it doesn't it's not going to it hears what it is that you don't have and will give you more of what you don't have.
Right.
When one says I don't have this, well, the universe is hearing, oh, that's what you want more of, because
Exactly.
the universe doesn't think the same way that we're processing or that we're coming up with that information.
We cannot be in the same vibration of negativity and obtain positivity. We have
That's
to be in the concept of positivity to be positive, or in
that's
the
right.
concept of
That's right.
money and
Yeah.
in business and abundance in order to get that. And we cannot
Right.
be in the other angle, of course. Yes, makes sense.
Yeah. So if we change the wording and we change our frame of thinking to, I have the money that I need, because really the money that we need to have coming in is to fulfill our basic needs.
Right.
Our need to eat, our need to be clothed, our need to have a roof over our head that's going to keep us dry, keep us cool in the summer and warm in the winter,
Right.
right? Um, having the and also having the family, that we need as
Right.
well, right? And the friends that we consider family, having all of that in place. That's really what's most important, because anything outside of that is a nice to have, but it's not a necessity. We
Right.
can survive without those other things. We cannot survive without what would be considered the core, or what we need at the root level.
There is an interesting example that I heard, and it's the difference between a tree and a human.
Yeah,
Tree is totally grounded, totally rooted to one specific place. It does not,
right,
it's not a mobile, it's specific to that place. And it understands its surroundings, it understands its conditions, and is very well aware of how to manage all those being in one specific spot. Humans are similar to that idea because we understand our surroundings, We have our consciousness, we have our brains, we think, and we move towards what we want. But without knowing that our power of thought, it's really focusing one specific thing at a time and bringing that towards us. So what happens is that we, as humans, create this bubble of consciousness, of understanding of ourselves. It's very limited because we do not understand ourselves totally. We cannot yet get there. I don't know why. Some people have, because they have been studying for like centuries ago, and they continue on to another generation until they reach a very good understanding of how to comprehend, how to achieve certain things. Uh, so this example allows you to, since humans are mobile,
Yeah.
we do have the tendency to take this bubble with us anywhere we go. So it's like a shield, a protective shield of our
Hmm.
consciousness. This is who we
Yeah.
are. So no matter where we go, we travel is a very rare environment, totally different environment. We feel comfortable because we do believe we are in one certain way.
Well, and you're right. And the other piece is, and I believe that part of the reason why we are imbalanced with, not in the sense of not feeling that we have all that we need and all that we want, is because we're also bored.
Right.
We're spoiled. We're actually very spoiled because if you look at history in terms of how our physical makeup is set, and even in terms of how we're supposed to be thinking and um, um, and keeping busy, keeping our minds busy, is that we were nomadic,
That's true. That's
meaning that
true.
we had to follow the herds. We had to follow the animals to eat in order for us to eat, which meant that we would build temporary structures. We would then have to, and then we would then once we had built the temporary structure, the men would be off hunting and foraging. The women are looking after the kids and keeping the home, healthy and happy. And then we would bring the food back. And then, within a day or a couple of days, we would then again have to take down the home and move. And we would be moving with the animals, right? So that would be like, for example, it could be the elk moving with the buffalo, moving with whatever the
And hunting
animals.
was the process too. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So we're always being kept busy. We always had to think differently. We're always having to readapt, reinvent on what it was that we were doing, reinventing ourselves because the change was so extreme all the time. It didn't allow us to be bored. We were never bored because there was always something that needed to be done. But what needed to be done was to sustain our survival.
And the point.
Was that?
And the point.
So the point is that the way that we live now is that everything is being handed to us,
Oh yeah, very spoiled.
right? So we're very spoiled in that sense. So for example, we have the one place that we live in, if we choose to, or if we need to, and then the supermarket isn't all that far away. We complain
Yeah.
about how far the supermarket is and the lineups and having to go in to get our food. And when we go in to get our food, the food's already done. I mean, the animal is already, for those who eat meat, the animal has already been killed and butchered and quartered. And what we're doing is just going to go and buy it. It's already in, on a styrofoam plate
Right.
with saran wrap over top with a date stamped on it. You
Cool.
know, the fruit's already picked. It's already there for us to just take off the shelf.
So we're
So
spoiled.
so
What
in
can
that
we do
sense,
about it?
sorry, what's that?
So we are spoiled. What can we do about it?
Okay, so what we need to do is to learn to be grateful for what we have,
Ah,
right? If we can be grateful for what we do have, like I don't have to go and hunt that food now. The winter months were the most devastating historically because there was no guarantee that you were going to find an animal to eat in the winter during the snow. You can't harvest fruits and vegetables in the winter in the northern climates, right? In the colder climates, I should say, because there's some southern climates that also have cold climates as well. So the colder climates was very difficult, or a lot more difficult to sustain life as we know it and as we need. We don't have to work as we still have to work hard for our food and our shelter, in the sense that we have to have that job that brings in the money.
Right.
But as long as we have that, well, we need to be, content, and we need to be happy with what we do have.
We have to keep bringing more fulfillment into our lives.
Yeah.
So our root chakra bring us to achieve this specific objective. So I'm going to read a little bit of the things I wrote. It says consciousness. We're going to talk about consciousness. You were talking about our thoughts and how to achieve it and how we can manipulate our thoughts in order for us to get something that we want. Consciousness is much like a stream. So we have to understand the concept of consciousness. What is consciousness? It's a stream, it's energy. We can relate to the fact of energy. And as your consciousness streams through the multiple dimensions that the part of your awareness and your consciousness that are focused into one dimension or another, these little things are called aspects, right?
But Romel, that starts to get into, you're right, but that's getting into talking about some of the other chakras.
Not necessarily. We are mentioning the idea of grounding, and we recall that passing through these energetic levels and dimensions, we have to. I mean, you've been practicing this all your life. I mean, so when we pull our focus back to our physical dimension, in this aspect of ourselves, we entrain our frequency with Mother Earth, which is what we're talking about, the root chakra. Root chakra, one of the elements is grounding with Mother Earth, because Mother Earth is total peacefulness right there. So when we allow to move our thoughts, our root chakras, this energy moves towards one specific concept, and this is grounding us. Right?
It's true. But getting back to the root is it's asking ourselves questions also. So for example, if we feel that need to go out and spend money, and this is all about being conscious, is why do I feel the need that I have to go and spend money, and particularly if I don't have the money? Or why do I feel I need to buy something to make myself happy? Because that's replacing something else, right? The need to go out to buy something is replacing something else that's missing from within ourselves that hasn't been healed. Right? Eating, so for example, somebody who eats a lot of junk food, for example, unhealthy food. Well, there's a reason why they're doing that, and that's to fulfill a need that hasn't been healed within them at the root level. And when we're talking about, and it's difficult to talk about also one chakra at a time, because usually if there's a blockage in one chakra, there's also a blockage in a second or even in a third chakra. And what it is because all chakras work together. So when there's a blockage in one, it affects another.
Right.
And we'll be looking at that later on, because I mean, we have to. We're talking about all of them. We're talking about the root, because right now we're focusing on the root. But just to throw that out there. So the same thing with us with family. So if we're not in harmony with our family, well, there's something that's missing. And instead of blaming other people, it's also important that we look at ourselves in terms of what can we do differently. What can I do differently within me that I can change inside? Because if we change who we are, or if we can make a change inwardly, well, that automatically affects what's going on externally.
Totally.
Right? So, and there will be a change, but we have to be willing to change. One thing I always say is, I cannot change anybody else, because the only person who can change the other person is the other person. But the one person I can change and I know I can change 100% and for sure is myself.
Exactly. Yes, I agree.
And the work that I do, because I'm you know, I do because I'm helping others, is it's not a 9 to 5 job. And I know some people who I work with, and they're like, oh, you know, I only work 9 to 5. So I have empathy and compassion for people 9 to 5 outside of my work life. Well, I'm a completely different person because I no longer have to do that. Right? Right.
Something is
So,
something.
so really, you know, this is a lifestyle change because it's a 24/7 job,
Wow.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Doesn't know holidays, doesn't know um, you know, weekends, doesn't know downtime. It's a forever thing,
Yeah, I agree.
right?
Totally.
So and it goes back to what I was saying the other day, that because, you know, when we're conscious of our chakras, when we're conscious of what we need to do, whether we're talking about the root chakra or any of the other ones, it's again, it's all about being willing and able to give up our 3 best friends,
True, true.
right? So, and if we're able, and if we're willing to work on that, and we're willing to do that, then it makes the process that you know, that much easier. However, the lessons and the challenges and what we're being tested with gets tougher and tougher and tougher as we go. I'm a firm believer in that um, because we, once we're consciously aware that everybody that comes into our life is a student and a teacher,
Oh yeah.
then we don't, we take, you know, what we perceive is being done negatively to us by others, personally, less and less. We
Okay.
realize, okay, this is a lesson for me. I'm being triggered. Oh, why am I being triggered? Right? So why do I have the need to spend money that I don't have or that I do have? Why can't I just be content with what I do have?
Uh-huh.
Right? So that's a trigger.
Great question. Great. Those are great questions.
Yeah, and the answers are different for everybody, and so you know, I'm not going to start giving possible answers because for each person it's different. Some may have some similarities, but there's a lot of difference, and only that person can answer that question for themselves. And the answers will come when they're ready to hear the answer. When they're sitting there saying, "I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready," well, you may not be ready because there's the conscious and the subconscious. Consciously, logically, you know, one may think that they're ready to hear the answer. Emotionally, subconsciously, which is a completely different thing, one may not be quite ready to hear the answer or answers yet because it's more painful,
Oh yeah.
right? That'll bring up some pain that one has to feel and be prepared and ready to feel to then work through that pain.
Okay.
And people use different things um, to um, keep the pain and the discomfort in the root chakra down by using, for example, drugs,
Oh yeah.
marijuana, hashish, methamphetamines, alcohol, right? So when we have difficulties or discontent at the root level, okay, overspending, so maxing out credit cards, um, taking out bank loans that we know we can't pay back, or
Wow.
that we might have a lot of difficulty paying back, you know, buying extravagant things, going on trips that we can't afford. But I'll worry about that later, but I'm going to enjoy myself while I'm on the trip now. So those are quick fixes, and it's like gambling. It's the same thing as gambling. Gambling is these are all like different types of addictions. And when we're out of balance in the root chakra, and even some of these other chakras that we'll be talking about later on, well, then there's that's what happens with addictions. Addictions feed this imbalance, which helps us feel better in the moment, but then it's only a moment, and then right away we feel horrible afterwards. And then what we do is we go back to our addiction to again cover that up until it's
A
just like
bigger
this
hit comes.
complicated thing.
Yeah.
What?
Until a bigger hit comes, and then it will definitely teach you better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right.
Understand the lesson. Totally.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Right. So, um, and so,
Perfect.
And if our,
I mean, that was great example, Greg. And so what, what are the things that we can do to ground ourselves? Do you have any list or something?
yeah, so things that we can use to ground ourselves for our root, to heal our root chakra, help heal our root chakra. You mentioned the whole thing of gardening. So gardening is an excellent example, just spending time in nature.
Yeah.
Spending time in, so it's the color green.
I
So
used
the
to be a
color,
landscaper, and oh boy, that was the greatest job I have ever had, because I was in contact with the outdoors, in touch with the earth all the time, and
yeah.
constantly being gratified by the beauty of the gardening and stuff, and the plants and stuff, and the results. Yeah, it's beautiful, grounding.
Yeah, yeah, getting one's hands into the soil, walking barefoot on grass or in soil or on the beach in the sand, you know, um, just sitting out in nature, going for walks in nature, taking pictures.
I grew up in Ecuador, and there is
Uh-huh.
a mountain close to Ecuador, and this mountain, to travel to the mountain, there is a lot of sand. It's kilometers of sand towards the mountain. So people,
Okay.
what people do, I was very little when I start doing this. So we take off their shoes and we can start walking towards the mountain. It was the most delicious and peaceful environment we can ever accomplish. I mean, by
Nice.
the time we reached the mountain, we were vibrating very high in
Oh, very
harmony with
nice.
Mother Earth.
Hugging trees. Hugging trees is also a good thing.
Yeah, I heard a lot of that.
Talking to the trees, talking to plants, nurturing them.
My grandmother used to tell me when I was very upset with myself. I mean, I didn't like to, I didn't understand mathematics at that time. I was learning, and I got upset when I didn't get the results. So it says, go hug a tree. And yeah, I literally went and hugged the tree, and boy, I came back and I was fresh. It worked.
But which is excellent. And for those whose root chakra is out of balance, hugging a tree has a lot of meaning because because the trunk of the tree is like the extension of the roots,
Yeah.
which then allows the branches to come out and then allows the tree to grow taller and higher and branch out more, right? So
Now I understand it. Yeah. It's
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. So it's very symbolic,
Yeah.
you know.
Why do we
Well,
feel the need to ground?
sorry, what's that?
Why do we feel the need to ground? I mean, some people don't need it, some people need it. So why
Well,
do we have to ground?
well, I believe that everybody. I mean, for those who may not need it, it's still a beneficial to do it anyway because we're never completely imbalanced.
Oh yeah.
Because the thing is that we're always being challenged. We're always learning something new, experiencing something new and different. Change is the one constant. So as long as there's change, there will always be an imbalance because the imbalance is there as a teacher to teach us to be more aware.
Yeah.
That we need to be aware of a certain situation, of